On today's episode of Better Together, we sit down with Doc Ziggy, founder of Operation SickCare, a nonprofit that provides unwavering support and vital resources to veterans and family caregivers so that they may live unbroken. Our conversation today includes topics such as sick care from the VA, mental fitness, and how Doc rediscovered control on his healing journey. If you are a veteran or family caregiver in need of services, we will provide links in the description so that you may find the support suited for your needs. We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and it is my pleasure to introduce Doc Ziggy.
Who are you?
Who am I?
Who are you? Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
We're going deep today.
The
Okay.
fastballs on the first question.
Who am I?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Doc Ziggy. As my guys have learned to know me, Army veteran. I served 14 years in the, I did 6 years in the 101st Airborne, and I've done 3 deployments, 2 combat deployments, and 1 as an LNO. As I was a medic, combat medic in the infantry, so that's pretty much me in a nutshell, in a very small nutshell.
Absolutely.
Well, that was me, I should say, while I was in the military. Now I'm still Doc Ziggy.
There you
go. But I had a different life now. I'm a veteran, obviously, now, and I'm a veteran on a different mission. My mission before was keeping freedom for our country, making sure the bad people didn't do bad things anymore, and healing those who need healed. And that mission's changed a little bit. As being a veteran now, I've realized myself, my brothers and my sisters need that help and healthcare that we're really not getting. So now I've become Doc Ziggy, founder of Operation SickCare. So that's me now.
Awesome.
And so let's get this going. Where are we going?
Yeah. All right. Well, what would be the whole reason? Like, what's the whole reason for Operation SickCare? You know, why did you see that there was obviously you saw a need? And I guess also, could you explain how big of the need is? Maybe people like me, for instance, I had no idea the whole all the issues with the VA, right. Everything that's going on.
Okay, so my reasoning behind it was I was not getting the proper care I was supposed to be getting. I survived 21 IED blasts throughout my deployments and multiple other percussions, which left me with a lot of brain injuries. And they were issues. One, when we were starting back then in combat, brain injuries weren't anything that we really were aware of or we were even thinking about. We were more mission oriented as far as, taking care of the terrorists, bringing stability to the region and ensuring freedom, right? Those were our main missions. And so, you obviously don't want to ever get shot.
Yeah.
That's a bad thing.
No.
Right? Bad.
Yeah.
And that was really where more of what we thought of as far as wounds, as far as long-term, would be getting shot in a bad place, right? In your spine or, somewhere that was maybe removing a limb or something, right? That was more where I was thinking my areas would be working or what would happen to us. And that really wasn't what happened. That wasn't the weapon of choice for that war as far as for our enemy. The weapon of choice for our enemy was the IED, the improvised explosive device, right? And so that was really where a lot of our wounds came from. It wasn't, well, let's face it, they couldn't shoot for shit.
Yeah.
Thanks. But a big bomb goes a long way, right?
Yeah.
And so a lot of me and my brothers and sisters were encountering these explosions, and not just one. I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4 would be you could hear somebody getting hit like that in a day even. It not every day, but that could happen.
Yeah.
But throughout our careers, I mean, 12, 2 dozen and plus. Well, what we didn't know and what we had not really considered was, all the compounded damage that would really do to us. Because we're not that mindset. We're mission first and worry things later. Fast forward 15 years, I've left the Army, and I'm essentially retired from work, right? And I have decided at that point I was going to start enjoying all the fun stuff that we'd went and fought for, and
Yeah.
you know, just travel and have fun. You know, just
live your life. Huh?
live my life, be what I wanted to become. And so I was using my brother's place as a kind of like a step off point where I would travel, come and recharge my battery here, so to speak, and then off for fun, right? You know, off to the winds of whoever or whatever that could be. I mean, dangerous but fun. And so that was the plan, and I was making my preparations and just kind of hanging out here and spending time with my nephews and my brother and everybody and his wife, just reconnecting with people I kind of didn't know anymore, really, for the most part. I'd been gone so long.
Yeah.
I knew my brother's wife, Dawn, since we were forever young, you know, so it's like, wow, like I know you, but I don't. So it was a good chance to reconnect while I was getting ready to go off on my personal journey.
Yeah.
So that was fun, and I was really starting to really connect with my nephews, especially, which was great for me because just having that. So we were starting to hang out, everything was going good, and all of a sudden, all those injuries caught up with me, and it caused me to become epileptic. And so I didn't know it then, but now knowing it, that's a typical thing, actually.
Like typical
for brain injuries.
Okay.
For someone who's been through what I had been through, it's a typical, evidently, situation you're going to run into, but usually it's longer down the road. I guess I just I don't know, I just excelled. Right? And it hit me, and I became epileptic. So I had to start working on how to work that issue. So after I had this grand mal, I go to the doctor. Doctor's like, woo, problems. Go see a neurologist. You got to get there like 72 hours. This is pretty important through what you've been through.
Yeah.
Gotcha, doc. And he wrote me a prescription for anti-seizure medication, which is a pretty widely used medication for it. Unfortunately, it didn't work for me, which happens. But the doctor did the right thing at the time. He wrote me that script and gave me the right information to do. I had just gotten to California, so I had to enroll into California's VA. It goes regional throughout the states. That process was pretty smooth, actually. I'll give kudos to the Loma Linda VA people who processed me in. Wonderful lady. I don't remember her name, but it happened really fast. So I was pleased. And unfortunately, that's where the good service stopped.
From the VA?
From the VA.
From the VA, okay.
They were like basically saying, oh, well, neurology can't see you for at least 90 days. And this was right when the new systems were coming into place where we no longer had to be seen by only the VA. There was a new system being put in place. And so basically the way that worked was the VA had 30 days to get you seen.
Yeah.
If that didn't work, like, I don't mean by working as like, if they just couldn't get that set for you, then you had the opportunity to see somebody in their new system, right? So a civilian doctor that is been blessed off in by the VA.
Yeah.
And so I didn't really know much about this new program. I was having really bad cognitive problems at the time, so it was really difficult to try to grasp what was going on.
Yeah.
And so fortunately, I had my brother to help me. And we didn't really know what was wrong with me yet, per se. So it was just kind of like, all right, he was like, well, I'm going to let you do your thing.
Yeah.
Just tap me on the shoulder when you need.
How far after you got back home do you think like those symptoms started coming up?
For coming home from like completely out of the Army?
Yeah.
Once I separated from the Army, my brain injuries didn't exacerbate probably until that first seizure.
Yeah.
I've always had problems like simple things, headaches, temper flare-ups, little things. There's just things that happen.
Yeah.
But the major problems didn't start until that night. And so we knew we were trying to get to a doctor, and we couldn't. And there was just more bureaucracy, more paperwork, more boundaries in my way that were just, how do I get over this? How do I get around it, or what's going to happen? And I was still having seizures every day, all day long, like 20 minutes, 30-minute spells, which is extremely dangerous. It's real bad. Like 5 minutes is like go to the hospital.
Yeah.
So this was the world I was trying to survive in. And I vaguely remember I was having a good day that day, so I could talk and I could think a lot pretty well for that time. And I somehow was on the phone with somebody in the VA system trying to get me into the newer system and what's going on. And I finally was like, they were giving me a runaround, telling me, no, not yet. It's still far out. We can't get you in. And I was confused. I was upset. I was frustrated because there was a system I believed was in place for this to take care of us.
Yeah.
And it wasn't happening. And I finally told the woman, I was like, well, ma'am, I have one question really for you. What am I supposed to tell my son when things go real bad and maybe I even die?
Yeah.
What happens and what am I supposed to tell him or have him told, because I may not be able to speak, why you guys didn't do what you were supposed to?
Yeah.
He knows Daddy did what he was supposed to because Daddy was never around for him. I was too busy out fighting a war to be there for my own son.
Yeah.
Right? So now I have not a relationship with him, because I was so separate from him. And that was that upsetting to me. Like, I sacrificed my relationship with my son.
Yeah.
And I did it. And I knew I did it. But I couldn't come back and tell him it was worth it, even though I feel that way. Well, he would tell me it's not.
Yeah.
He's lost his father for the most part. We didn't have that relationship. And then now the people who swore to take care of me aren't. Fortunately for me, that touched her heart.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if she had children or whatever, but it touched her.
Something spoke to her.
Something sparked her.
Yeah.
And that was enough to get the ball rolling to where I did end up getting into a neurologist outside of the VA.
Yeah.
And he works for Loma Linda University Hospital. Amazing man, Dr. Dasherly. He is like on point.
Yeah.
From the moment I walked in there, he understood. He treated me with kindness and respect, knowing I was very childlike at the time, and he didn't treat me that way. He was understanding and stuff, and he knew what to tell me, even though I couldn't grasp it. And he helped get me through all the hard times. We had to work with prescriptions to make sure my epilepsy finally got balanced. And but during that process, I ended up getting worse. I had a big cluster of the seizures, and then what we think was a peripheral stroke. And that started the big problems of knocking out the right side of my body, which began the huge journey, because then it was paralyzed, inability to speak properly or communicate. Bathing wasn't really a thing. It was me trying to sponge bathe myself. But my ability only would be not a full sponge bath. It was, I know I can wash this arm today. And that would be it. And could I have asked my brother to bathe me. Yes, I could have, and yes, he would have with no problems. But my pride and independence wouldn't allow for that question to be asked.
Yeah.
So I did that for a while. And then obviously we learned to work with each other. So we grew into a great symbiotic caregiver / working with the individual who wants to be independent.
Yeah.
Doesn't quite understand his independence.
Yeah.
But wants as much of it as possible. So that's a good relationship that we had that formed through a lot of failures and mistakes.
Yeah.
Like a lot of them. Like we just didn't know what we were facing.
Yeah.
And the amount of just time-consuming suck of energy that was it taking for me to being seen. After we got through that in neurology, it was good because I was in neurology, and it was just a matter of getting my brain settled because it basically it was like having a factory reset for my brain.
Yeah. You got to start from like.
I had to start over.
Yeah.
Like my brain thought I was a baby again, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, it just is how it worked. And so that required a lot of physical therapy. Because I couldn't even feel most of really my body. And if it was anything, it was a crazy spasm of something. And it wasn't in any of my control. It was, you know, my arm would just do this. Or it would definitely, when I get tired, my arm would stay like in this position. Like it was just weird.
Yeah.
And so I got out of the hospital after that cluster and all whatnot, bad hospital stay, but I recouped, and we realized physical therapy is needed. Like I'm gonna want to walk again, you know, silly me. And so we were able to immediately get in home care. I will say the VA was pretty good about that. It didn't take too long.
Yeah.
And I had a wonderful physician's assist or physical therapy assistant, excuse me, came in, worked with me, and she was wonderful. She knew what my body needed, and it wasn't hardcore, intense training at that time. It was, let's just massage.
Yeah.
Let's try to move your feet. Let's try to wiggle the toes, and we made good progress.
You starting from the beginning.
Starting from
Yeah.
underground.
Yeah.
Like below rock bottom, right?
Yeah.
But she was a loving, caring, you know, healthcare giver.
Yeah.
You know, she wasn't like, well, you're not really doing what we need to do. She was very exciting. She helped. She'd bring her own equipment in to help me with and stuff like that. And then we got to the end of those sessions.
Yeah.
And I had made a lot of progress. I'd been able to start moving my toes and moving my feet. I mean, walking was still way down the road.
Yeah.
But we were making great progress. We got to the end of those sessions, and it was time to take the next big leap, which was going to be outside physical therapy. Like I would go see one.
All right, for sure.
And it was a matter of, well, am I ready for that or not?
Yeah.
And my in-home therapist was very reassuring because I was a little nervous of what my abilities were, and she's like, "It's okay." She's like, "Look, go do it. Go to that appointment." She says, "But no real expectations. Just go." She's like, "But if you're having trouble and you're falling still and you're not able to keep up," she says, "It's okay." That she would work with me again, and we'll just go back and keep pushing. But stubborn. I wanted to move forward.
Yeah.
And so I chose the hard part, and I stuck with it, and I got through the series of appointments. I don't remember the amount, but like 10 appointments or something like that. And my physical therapist that I had got was Doc Susan, and I freaking love her. and her aide is by far Miss Liz and Doc Susan, best physical therapy combo anyone could ever get. Like I promise you, like you can't find it. Like the gods put them to me for a reason, and I love it. And I didn't even really think I would like her style of medicine.
Yeah.
But then we gelled so perfectly. And so we really started locking in and just like doing things I would have never thought of doing.
Yeah.
Even being that medical background and having a little bit of understanding of physical therapy and stuff, she was taking things into a different route. More Eastern medicine, which I'm a Western medicine guy.
Yeah.
So it was very confusing for me to be like, I don't know about all this stuff. But you know what? She sold me on it.
Yeah.
She sold it to me, but not really, because it was the way the Army trained me. We used different verbiage. Like her and I just used different verbiage, and we found a good common ground. It was it was like, at first we were, in my mind, we were so far apart.
Yeah.
But then when I started to kind of like understand, like our verbiage was just different.
Yeah.
It turned out we were so far apart, we were actually standing right behind each other.
You guys.
We were like back to back.
Yeah.
We were literally actually watching each other's back.
Yeah.
And so I was just so elated to have that great relationship that finally built, and I was like, oh, this is where I belong, right?
That's what's up.
And they were working with me, and then we got to the point where I was done with those prescriptions. And so she wrote for more because she saw the progress I was making, and she was very excited. I was very excited, and it took some time, and the VA lost a lot of paperwork, and they came up with a lot of excuses. Then they finally gave me some more appointments. So I was super excited then. I was like, I'm gonna start to feel my calf now, because like my right side of my body had so much atrophy, like it looked weird. Like at one point, and I was already well into therapy.
Yeah.
I had so much atrophy, my left calf was the exact measurement as my right quad, and that was actually healed. That was grown.
Yeah.
So it was even smaller than my left calf.
Yeah.
So that's where I was building on, just trying to get in that strength and all that. And then we went through that round, and we were making solid progress. Like it was no longer just spasming. I was in control. Like I could move up and down. I could go side to side, painfully.
Yeah.
But I could do it. And then it came time for my next round. VA they weren't trying to have all that. So they called me in, like, oh, we need to reevaluate you.
Yeah.
To see if this is warranted.
Yeah.
I was just like, well, okay.
Yeah.
Let me drive the hour and a half for you to poke sticks at me. Not really that nobody's poking sticks at me. And so I get in there, and I've told this story many a times, and people have probably heard it on other places. But we go into the physical therapy office, my brother and I, and at that time I was in a 4-wheeled walker at that time, so very reliant on it. I couldn't go very far or very fast. like it was like turtles could beat me. But I was still moving, and we get in there, and we get situated, and this lady, I very much hesitate to call her a healthcare anything, because she didn't provide any healthcare. It's more of a sick care provider.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and her first question, before we even started the exam, was straight out to me. So, why would you want to walk again when you have such a nice walker? I thought it was a joke at first. She wasn't joking.
What is that?
Like that was a serious question.
That wasn't a joke.
It was not a joke. She really meant it. I didn't have an answer for that.
I don't have words right now for that.
Right? Like I didn't have a logical response.
Yeah.
I probably had a very dumb look on my face. And what ended up happening is my physical therapist wrote for me to get another 8 more appointments, right? And so she goes and touches the leg a little and whatever, does her exam.
Yeah.
She does find weakness in my knees and in my hip and in all the places that we know are weak.
Yeah.
And she goes, oh, well, now I've got to go take this to Dr. Wang. He's the decision maker here. I'll be right back. Okay. So she goes out of the room. I don't know, 15, 20 minutes later. I have no idea what time.
Yeah.
She just comes back into the room. And she doesn't come back in with Dr. Wang or anybody. She just comes back with her decision, I guess. I don't know what we would call it.
Yeah.
Or what she had to say. And she's like, well, we're not going to give you 8. We'll give you 6. I was like, what?
What are you just trying
And I
to
was like, well, hold on, wait a minute. So I pulled out my physical therapist's, essentially it's a prescription,
Yeah.
you know, what she writes out for.
Yeah.
I was like, she wants 8.
Yeah.
You're giving me 6. Why? Well, that's what you get. But, you know, essentially be thankful, be grateful, and get out of my office.
Yeah.
So, you know, we leave because, like, you know what? I got my 6. We'll worry what happens after that next.
Yeah.
By this time, it had probably been another 6 weeks in between therapy sessions.
Yeah.
So I've done my homework at home. I've done my work here. I do the stuff I can do at home.
Yeah.
But I need a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, for the things I need to do to excel, right?
Absolutely.
So I get through and I'm going back and we're getting better. Everything's always progress. It's always going upward. I might have some bad days where I can't train as hard, but I train.
Yeah.
I always do something to move forward, right? And we get through with those. And I am now off my walker.
Yeah.
Okay? And when she had told me that asinine remark about the why would you want to walk thing, she also proceeded to tell me that essentially my life will be a walker. That on a cane, I would only ever, at the very most, go, I don't know if I want to say it was either 1,500 or 1,200 feet, max. Ever. That's all I could ever do that.
Yeah.
And that I would only ever be able to walk at the most 400 feet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to smash that 400 feet.
Yeah.
Okay, I promise you that. I can't do it yet.
Yeah.
I can take steps
Yeah.
on my own.
Yeah.
With a belt around me, being protected.
Yeah.
But I promise you,
Yeah.
as we sit here right now, before my birthday, which is in October,
All right.
I'm not giving you guys the real date. And I know you guys are crazy out there. I will walk 502 feet.
That's what's up.
I will guarantee that.
That's
that
what's
is
up.
my promise.
Yeah.
And it will happen.
That's what's up.
502. It will happen.
Yeah.
I will prove the VA wrong.
I believe you.
I will prove all the naysayers wrong. Everybody who thought this couldn't happen, I'm gonna do it out of just because I can. But I find a passion for it. Knowing I've accomplished the things that everybody said I shouldn't and couldn't do. And in all honesty, I probably shouldn't have been able to do it.
Yeah.
It just took a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
I like working out, and I find it as a good place to heal. But that also wasn't enough for me to heal it, which was weird because it's always been my go-to thing to help me heal. Like whether I've found myself sometimes in a bit of a depression or just even anxieties or all those little things of the PTS that I deal with. Exercise and being out in the sun have always been my best medication.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to do as much, so it was, I can't say it was hindering me, I just wasn't succeeding as well. And Doc Susan introduced me to meditation. And at first, I laughed.
Yeah.
I did what a lot of people do that I've run into now.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't sit still. I can't just do that.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of discipline.
Yeah.
It took more discipline than I ever expected.
Yeah.
I never would have, like, if you would have went back 5 years and told me 5-10 years ago, you're going to meditate and it's going to be something you enjoy, I probably would have kicked you somewhere and laughed at you. But it turns out that was literally like the best catalyst for my healing. Like my internal abilities to motivate and get myself, they're there. They're not always there. I have struggles. Some days I fail at it.
Yeah.
You know? But that meditation kicked it up a notch.
Yeah.
And it was weird because at first I was like, this feels funny.
Yeah.
And I couldn't do a 25-minute session.
I don't think I've ever done a 25-minute session of like just sitting there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's weird. It was like 5 minutes in, I was already, like, I'm like trying to adjust my shirt. I'm like, wait, am I sitting right? Oh, well, this whole thing's going on in my head.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't think I can do this.
Yeah.
But it just took a little bit of a long time. So it was just incremental times where I did start to notice. The meditation was affecting me physically.
Really? What do you mean? What do you mean, like?
The first thing I noticed was as I was starting to meditate. So the meditation I was using was to focus on what you were trying to accomplish. So a lot of forward thinking with zero victimhood.
Okay, for sure.
So definitely, it all involves you.
It's like 100% accountability.
Yeah, it's all accountability.
Yeah.
It all resides within your own body and your brain.
Yeah.
And that's the concept behind it all. So as I was meditating, I actually had to start meditating in the laying down position. I couldn't sit long enough.
Yeah.
To, you know,
You couldn't
to hold. So I started lying down.
Yeah.
Was when I started my meditating. And so it had probably been a few weeks, maybe a little bit longer, because I didn't know how to breathe properly. I didn't know where, it's like, oh, where are my hands supposed to be? All that crazy nonsense. And so I end up like this in bed, like I'm like laying in the position of attention, but I'm feeling it. I can't say working, but I could feel myself relaxing more.
Yeah.
Like, I guess falling deeper into the meditation. But then I realized as I was going through it and I was concentrating on what I wanted my body to be doing, not that it could yet.
Yeah.
I started having the spasm in my leg, but it was more happening when I was thinking about what I was doing.
Yeah.
And it started to engage.
Yeah.
And I was like,
talk about like a mind-body connection.
It was that neuro pathway reconnected again because it had broken. So it's connected. Now, whether it went to the same connection or formed a different one, couldn't tell you. Can't see inside my brain.
That's all going on in there.
I have no idea. The doctors don't even know really at this point. But that's when I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is connecting.
Yeah.
Like I was thinking or meditating, whatever, how you conceive it, and it had a physical response.
Yeah.
And that was when I finally realized, stay this course.
That's like an epiphany moment for
yes,
you.
Exactly.
In your like journey of healing.
Stay this course. Regardless of how good you are at it right now, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Because it's working well.
Yeah.
I wasn't great at meditating. I honestly don't even still think I am. Nobody's taught me. I have no formal training. So you guys out there, do not think I am any kind of no subject matter expert. Okay?
No yogi.
No, not a yogi. I'm not a guru. I'm a guy who likes to sit in the dark and breathe. just so we cover that. But it did start having that physiological response.
Yeah.
And at first it was like, is it psychosomatic or is it real?
Yeah.
And it did end up being real. I did end up having the ability to control that muscle group again. And it grew from there. So then it started with the flutters.
Yeah.
And then it started with me being able to, or grew into me being able to, I wouldn't say flex or contract the muscle yet, but have the feeling of it.
Yeah.
Which then progresses into that ability to actually squeeze it.
Yeah.
Now it ain't getting all swolled out, rock hard yet and whatnot, but it's twitching.
Yeah.
And it's moving with my body, not independently because my brain's overloaded and it's just going out of whack.
So like for the first time in a bit, would you be able to say like you had some sort of control?
Correct.
Yeah.
I regained it.
You regained, yeah.
And that was huge for my mental fitness, which is maybe doesn't seem right, but having that notion of, I always tried to be positive in, I'm gonna make it back, right? Like I never let go of that thought, but there's always self-doubt in a journey. There's always going to be self-doubt in the fact of, am I doing all the right things?
Yeah.
Is this enough? Am I even worthy enough to be to try to even do this?
Yeah.
So all those things started coming into play. So when I started getting the physiological reaction, it instantly helped my mental fitness. It was weird because like when I first had that first seizure, in the days that followed, it almost felt internally like somebody took an ice cream scooper and like kind of scooped out a chunk in my head. And it was just a void. And as the meditation and the healing happened, it was like somebody put that scoop back in.
Yeah.
Not all the way, but portionally, it started to refill. And so that in turn obviously healed the brain.
Yeah.
So the brain then wanted to heal more of the body.
Yeah.
And it's just this perpetual cycle that I noticed as long as I focus on the positive, try not to dwell so much on my shortcomings when I do have bad days, of course, or I get frustrated or I get stuck. It's just slow down and breathe. And just the constant reminder. So that's where I finally, it's just like, oh, this is a thing.
Yeah.
Like this is like, Doc Susan said it best. If you could put meditation in a pill form, you'd never need drugs. And I was like, oh, that's so true.
Write that down, write that down.
I was like, man, let me tattoo that somewhere.
That's going to be it for another episode of Better Together. We hope you enjoyed our conversation today. If you like what we're doing and you want to see more, subscribe, hit the like button, comment down below. We'd love to hear your feedback. We hope to see you again for the next episode. And until then, remember, we're always better together.